Hey, and again, this is Code Way Too Easy. Guys, thanks for joining us on another video. This is our video build-up for the essentials of what coding is. Again, coding is nothing more than instructions, step-by-step instructions that you tell the computer what to do. And then we talked about variables. Again, it's like a container that has a name, and you can put values into this container, and you can use this container, this variable, at a later time. But now we're going to build up a little bit more. Again, programming language are just tools. That's all they are to accomplish something. It doesn't matter the programming language. In this channel, I'm going to be introducing and showing you coding on a wide array of a variety of different programming languages, just to show you the concepts hold essentially from one language to another. Today, we're going to dive into Python again. And let's go ahead and get started. So you should be seeing my screen here. So there's a good sites out there for tutorials about coming up to speed, but we'll look at this one here. It's W3 Schools. I highly recommend it. I use it to learn the languages myself as well. So as you can see here, Python is indention language, meaning it needs to be formatted in a particular way. So let's go ahead and take a look at this example here. So here, we haven't really covered this yet, but this is what we call a conditional statement here. So we're checking for a condition. Let me show you guys a little bit closer up so you can see it a little bit easier. But you see there's an indention here. Now, if I were to take Python code, just like this one, similar, I'm going to say instead of if 10 is greater than the number 1, and then imagine I'm not going to indent. I'm just going to go ahead and say print. And also, we also talked about how to print output information to the screen, to the terminal window, so you can inform your user of different things that you're doing in your program. So print, open parentheses, double quotes, yes, 10 is greater than 1, right? Close that off. So if I were to take this code here, I'm going to copy that code. I'm going to go to what we've been using in the past, this Replit website, Python 3. Here we are. So as this loads up, you'll see I'm going to take, there's a difference here. You can see that here we have an indentation. You see how this is indented a bit here? Now, in the code that I have here, I did not indent. I want us to see what happens. What happens? Let's see what happens. So we're going to copy that code, copy, and we're going to go ahead and paste this into our compiler online editor, and let's go ahead and hit run. Immediately you see there's a wiggly red line underneath, so something's not good. But you can see we get an error here. Python is giving us an error. The computer is letting us know indentation error, expected in indented block. So this is an example of a language that is that requires you to format your lines of code in a certain way. So this is important to have an indentation here. Other languages, like Java, for example, don't require that. So there's subtle differences between language to languages. So let's indent this. And so hit that tab button, put your cruiser right there in the front, then hit that tab button. You see we took away that wiggly line. Let's run it. And then it runs successfully, and we get our message that gets printed out because this condition is true. 10 is greater than 1. So that is Python indentation. You need to always indent your lines of code accordingly. So here's an example. What we did very similar. You see there's no indentation. So that's something to keep in mind. And let's look at this. We have one indentation here, but we have like several indentions here. Let's see what happens if we grab this code, highlight it, copy it over, and just copy and paste that. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 indentions. Let's see. Let's run in what happens. So actually, that runs fine. There's no issues with that. But it goes to show that you need to always indent whenever you're going to use a conditional statement here. Like if this is this, then on the next line of code, you need to indent, all right? So this is what we call Python syntax. All programming language has a particular syntax, a way that you need to structure your code line by line. Again, this is some more examples. Here we actually have an error this would be an error, syntax error. So a lot of times if you're programming in Python, you're going to come across issues like this. So let's see, this one runs because there was not a proper indentation. If we look over here, there's actually just a single space here. That's why that one fails. Let me go ahead and bring this over, and I'm going to indent it. And then if I run it, this line of code is fine, line 2, but line 3 has some issues. It seems like, well, you see, there's some there's some just spaces here. It's space, space, space. So we need to actually properly indent this. So let's go and bring this to the first part of that line, and then indent, 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 indent as much as we want. And still got a wiggly line. Not sure why that's happening, but let's run it and see what happens. So you have to have the indentions need to line up. Let's see if we can get this to go away at some point. There we go. All right, so we've decided to indent it here. You also note that there's oh no, so that's the way it is. So you have to just play around sometime with the indentation. That's probably going to be the most annoying bug. And again, a bug is a piece of code that has an error in it, or it's not working as intended. That's what a bug is. So we're covering a lot of topics today because we learned how to output information. We learned about variables, and now we're talking about a little bit about syntax. So this is Python syntax. Let's go ahead and take a look at something else. So comments. Comments are very important in any programming language. Imagine if I give you my code. I know how I think, but if I give you my code with no comments, then hey, that's going to be a problem because you don't know my thought process. So comments are the following. Comments, can be used to explain Python code. It can be used to explain your coding. So to create a comment in Python, you use the hashtag, just the hash symbol. So this is a comment, all right? So we're going to follow the same idea. Well, let's go ahead. So here, let's go ahead and insert our first comment. We're going to put a hash here, and we're going to say, let me see if I can zoom up so you can see this a little bit better. It's probably very small, but here we go. There we go. So this is a hash right here. That's this line of code. Everything that I'm going to write here is just a comment, so the computer is going to ignore this. Then it's going to come over here, and this is actually code here, and this is code, and this is code. But this is just a comment. This is just for us humans to make little notes. So here we are checking for the value of 5 being greater than 2. So we're explaining what we're doing on our piece of code here. So if this normally comment refers to whatever's going to follow below here. And then let's go ahead and insert another comment here. This is how we output information to the screen for the user. All right. And then we can also insert another comment here to explain what this second. So this is the first print statement. This is the second print statement. We can say just printing text to screen. All right. So that's what a comment is. Code should have comments because it's going to make it easier for you to understand what the code is doing. You don't necessarily need to know all the parts of the language. We can look at some example. Let's go ahead and jump over to Google, and let's look at an example of Ruby. Ruby is another programming language. Ruby programming language examples. All right. Scripting examples. All right. So if we go here, this website I like, Geeks for Geeks. They have some good stuff here. So let's look at some of these some of this. So let's go file handling in Ruby. Let's look at an example here. And this website is going to show us some code. And you see here, this is code in a completely different language, but but you can see that they make use of comments. So you can see there's a hashtag here, and there's a note, file handling program. So this file here that we're looking at, this entire code here, is apparently something about file handling program. And then we have something here. It looks like they're creating a variable. Variable is kind of easy to denote because there's some type of name on the left. Then there's an equal sign. Let me see if I can zoom in so you can see a little bit better. But and then there's something that's over here. Some value is going to get assigned to this variable here. So you can see this is an example of another programming language where they make use of comments to explain what they're doing. So this is creating a file. All right. This is what this line of code is doing, right into a file. So this is the actual code needed to write something, some piece of a text or something into a file. And then this is how you close that file. So again, it doesn't matter the language, programming language, they all have similar concepts. All right. So let's go back to Python. So we know what comments are in Python. All right. Variables, we talked about it in the last 3 or 4 episodes of videos before this one. A variable is nothing more than a container. Let's look at some examples of that. So here we've created a variable x, and we've assigned it the value 5. So if we were to use reference the letter lowercase x at any time, as we would imagine here, this print statement is going to output the value of x, which is equal to 5. And similar, we can create another variable called y, and we can give it the piece of text or the name John, and we can actually do that, and it's going to output that. So we can actually take this lines of code, copy that. Let's go to our Replit website for Python practice, and let's go ahead and run this and see what happens. So you can see it finished running, and it output what we expected. So here we created the variables, stored a value to those variable names, x and y, and then we print output information to the screen. All right, pretty easy so far, right? So again, here's some more examples, and here this is very nice because here they showed the example of how you can use a comment. So here we have this line of code x equals 4, and then we have a comment. So everything after the hashtag here is ignored by the computer, but this is actual code here. We're creating a variable and we're storing that value. And here we're just having a note, hey, x is a type of int. All right, so it's telling us what type of variable x is. Well, is an integer, int. Int, that's what int stands for, integer. So, and then we also have here another variable, which we can take that same variable and change it from a number. We can change it immediately to something else. So we can change it to a piece of text, Sally. X is now a type string. str stands for string. So when I say pieces, like a piece of text, output a piece of text to the screen, we're talking about a string. In programming language, we call it string, but it's for us, this is just a piece of text. Okay, so we can copy this code here, and we can copy. So you guys tell me, what do you think is going to happen when we run this piece of code? All right, let's run this piece of code. Do you think x, the number 4 is going to get printed over here, or you think the name Sally is going to be printed? Let's go ahead. I'm going to give you 5 seconds to think about it. 1. Okay, let's go ahead and run it, guys. Let's see. So you see, Sally was actually printed. Now, what happens if I copy this print statement here, and I put it immediately after we've declared our x equal to 4? I'll give you 3 seconds, I think. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and run it. And it's running. Work with me. Come on, website. Work with me. Work with me. Okay, sometimes this, yeah, we got to fail to connect. So, all right. So let's see. Okay, it's connected now. Let's go ahead and run it again. So this time it ran, and there was 2 print statements here. So we expected it to print 2 times, but we're in both cases we are outputting the value of x. But you can see here x is 4, and then we print that information, and then over here we change the value of x to a text or a piece of string, and then you can see that it printed out here as well. So very cool, guys. We are covering a lot of good stuff here. I hope you're following along. Let's see. Here's some more examples. Here's some more examples of that. So let's see what else we have here. So data types. Let's talk about data types, all right? Just really quickly before we bring, again, these videos, I like them to be short, concise, and to the point. All right, so there are some built-in data types. So when we create a variable, that variable can be anything. Like in that last example, X, we change it from a number to a piece of text. But there's some built-in, so you can, normally you don't want to necessarily change a variable from an int to something else entirely different. But anyway, let's look at here. So there's text types. So if we're going to create a piece of text, we're going to use a string. That's just information. We don't need to declare that. For example, in Java, Java is another programming language, but in Java, if you're going to create a variable, you need to indicate that it's a string, and you do that by indicating string space variable ABC equals uppercase ABC, all caps. All right, so in Java, this would be legit. This is, you need to indicate the type of variable it is, give the name, the variable a name, and assign it a value. And in this case, it's a string. In Java, if we wanted to do an integer, we can do CBA equals number 10, for example, and then we close that off. So you see the subtle differences. In Java, we use this, and we use a declaration of the data type for that variable. In Python, we don't do that, actually. In Python, we can just create the variable, and the Python computer is very smart. It knows, okay, well, you gave it a number, so I'm going to treat this like a number, all right? So here's some more different type of data types that we can create. A float. Let's take a quick example of float. So let's see. Let's say we wanted to take the value x again, and we're going to set it equal to 7. And I'm going to create a value, a variable called u, and I'm going to give it a float, which looks something like this: 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to add an integer value with a float. Do you think that is a legit? Can we do that? I don't know. Let's find out. One of the best ways you can do is test things out in code and see what happens. So we're going to go ahead and create a new variable called result. We're going to store the result, or the operation of taking the variable x, which is number 7, and add it to the variable u. All right, let's see. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do a print, and we're going to output the value of result here. All right, so guys, let's go ahead and see. So we expect that we're going to experience the same thing, but here we have one more print statement. So let's see what happens, guys. So it actually works. Awesome. The reason why I thought it maybe wasn't going to work is because in like other languages, Java, you can't necessarily do this. All right. So I wonder if we can kind of break this. Let's make this a really long number, and let's run this again. And actually, it doesn't have any issues. That's interesting. All right. Very nice. Very nice. Again, in some languages, you're not allowed to take a float and add it to a number. Or actually, you can. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out. So anyway, but I could show you another example. Let's say we want to take the number u, and we're going to convert this actually to a piece of string. All right, sweet. So we converted u to a piece of string, and we're going to take the number 7x, and we're going to add it to the string. This piece of text variable u is now a piece of text, denoted by the double quotes. Let's run this and see what happens. So you see here we actually have an issue. You can't take a number and add it to a piece of string, because the computer is going to try to take this number and add it to a string. One is a string and the other one is a number or integer. You can't do that. It doesn't make sense. So if we wanted to do this, again, this is a lot of information, but we can either convert the string into a number, or we can convert the number into a string, and then the action of taking a string with a string, you just put those two pieces of text together, and that's what the computer does for adding strings together. Okay, you know, we could do that. How do you do that? I actually forgot. So I'm gonna, again, one of the things I'm gonna show you guys in this course that we're doing is how to use Google, how to research, because they say 70% of the time that when you're coding, you're Googling information, solutions. The other 30% is actually thinking about how you're going to write the code. So, you know, that's kind of a joke, but I think actually there's some truth to it. And I have some experience from that. So here we're going to type Python, because that's what we're dealing with. Python, how to convert int to a string, right? I think that's what we want to do. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel. So there's something called here to convert an integer to a string in Python, use the string function. So this is what we're going to use. Let's copy this. And to make this code actually run, we're going to indicate over here to the computer, hey computer, I want you to treat, before you do this computation of trying to take this number in this piece of text and adding them together, before you do that, use this function string to convert this number, this variable x, which we know is a number here, convert it into a string, and then you can concatenate. You can put these two strings together. So let's go ahead and run it and see what happens. Yes, so it actually worked. So you can see here that this line of code, here's that 3321 dot. So we have 3321.126, et cetera, et cetera. So we have that first part, and what it did is it took that 7 and it just put it together with the other number right there. So it just did that. Now, mathematically, this wouldn't make sense, right? You just keep, that's not how you add numbers, but we're taking a piece of text and we're adding it to another piece of text. So guys, that was a whole lot of video that we did. I hope, you know, you may need to watch this video maybe a couple more times to understand. I know I speak fast, but you know, that's some of the stuff that we've learned today. Syntax, how to format your code in a certain way. Every language formats their code a little bit differently. You can use comments to explain your code, variables to store information and access at a later time. Data types, there's all these different types of data types we may want to use. Maybe tomorrow we'll talk about what a Boolean is. It's basically you're checking for a condition if it's true or false. But anyway, guys, I'm going to go ahead. Again, this is code way too easy. Just really quickly in this video, and I'm going to update the other videos. I'm going to provide a link to my Google Classroom that's completely free. I'm going to have some assignments out there for you guys if you want to take it and start learning a little bit more outside of the scope of these videos, so you can continue to practice. And again, I have that free version of this course, and then I have a premium that I'm in the process of making it paid. So you guys, if you want, again, here's the difference. Free, I want you guys to learn about everything free. I have the experience. I know what I can teach you guys. You guys are going to enjoy it. Hopefully the way I teach you guys coding, and then, you know, you can learn coding, right? But if you want a little bit more support, you want to get a little bit more advanced, I'm in the premium version of Code Way Too Easy. I'm going to help you guys with potentially getting a job in the IT world, in the tech job. Maybe you don't have any computer skills at all, but that's why you take the free course. And if you're really interested and you want to advance more and you want to get that nice tech paying job, I will help you with that. I'll provide a subscription service for the premium version of this course. I'll help you with your resume. I will give you specific tasks, little projects that are going to help you come up to speed depending on what type of IT or tech job you want. I've worked in IT for over almost close to 2 decades, and I have a lot of experience, and I can help you guys. So that's the difference between the premium Code Way Too Easy and the free Code Way Too Easy. But anyway, I'm Jimmy España. I really appreciate you guys' support, and I will see you guys on the next video, Code Way Too Easy. Thank you guys. Consider subscribing. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye. God bless.